If you want to know what the best tournament decks are right now in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or you're looking for a new deck to try out, then keep watching, because in this video I'll be talking about the tier list, post-December ban list, and what you can expect. Stay tuned. Before we start the tier list, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so the YouTube algorithm sees us. Now let's get into the video. Alright, let's start off with the first deck, that is the Ignister, the Draco Slayer Pendulum archetype. And I'm going to put this in the A tier immediately. I think it has one of the strongest potentials, post-ban list, even currently. Being able to search the Zombie World, Necro Valley, and the Secret Visual Spellcasters is something that I just don't think you can ignore. Being able to loop the Ignister multiple times, bouncing everything into the deck, and then OTKing for crazy damage, that's why I'm putting them in the A tier. So I want to put this in the list because it is an old time deck, but it's heavily combo dependent. However, while Bestials are currently in the game, I don't think Phantom Knights are going to be as potent. You can definitely play strategies to counter them, the Ghost Spell, the Skullmeister, and if you play cards like that, you may be able to combo off and you may be able to set up a crazy board. Princess is another insane archetype. They don't care about bestials. They actually play around it quite well, being all water types. With the introduction of World Dragon Zelantis in Darkwind Blast, because they're locked into waters, Zelantis will not special summon any of the opponent's monsters back on the field, allowing for a really easy OTK, and that's why they're going in the B tier. Dragon Link is an insane archetype right now. Yu-Gi-Oh! With the bestials, they've got an amazing consistency engine. They're able to pop cards and they're able to have a lot of recursion. Ending on a Spheres is really strong. A Borrowland is really strong, and that's why I'm actually going to put them in the A tier. I don't think they're S tier quite yet, and definitely a deck you want to focus on countering if you can. So these decks may have taken a hit with the Ishizu cards, so they're able to shuffle stuff back in and you lose your link materials. However, the field spell is just too strong. Rika Konkon able to tribute the opponent's cards without them even reacting to it is something I don't think you can ignore. I think it's a strategy that we haven't seen too much in Yu-Gi-Oh! And why I'm going to put them in the A tier. Eldritch the Golden Lord took a massive hit when the bestials came out. Of course, being a light monster means the bestials keep banishing them, so you're now forced to play 3 Eldritch the Golden Lords, and if your floodgates get destroyed, which is entirely possible, at the same time floodgates are really strong, and if they resolve, you're more than likely to win the game. I'm gonna put this in the C tier. Dratron is another deck that took a huge hit with the bestials. I think with the introduction of them, it just means you lose all your combo pieces, your Bentens, your Alphas, your Gammas, and for that reason alone, I don't think it's too strong at the moment. Similarly to the other decks, if its combo gets going, it's really hard to stop, and it can end on a really unfair lock thanks to the free Benten. And while Benten is at 3 as well, it should probably be in the B or C tier. I'm gonna say the B tier. Tri Brigade just got Lyrilusk Recital Starling back to 2, so I think for that reason Tri Brigade definitely gets a little bit of a buff, and they are able to end on a really strong board with Appaloosa, the Ancient Warrior Bouncer, as well as the Tri Brigade Revolt and other monsters. I think it's a really unfair archetype if the engine gets going. Of course, Fractal being an insane card, a 1-card starter for the deck. These user cards are around, so they can shuffle back any of the Tri Brigade monsters, making it really awkward to play your Revolt properly and also be able to link climb. So again, something like Ishizu Tearlaments, I think they're gonna have a lot of trouble, but against other rogue matchups they might be really powerful, and that's why I'm going to put them in the B tier. So Sky Striker took a massive hit when Mystic Mine got banned. I think it was one of the more popular versions. A player even won a YCS with Sky Striker Mine, but because it's banned now, I'm not sure where Sky Striker is supposed to go. Of course, we got the new support, the Hamp, the Kaiju, the searchable Kaiju for Sky Striker, and I think with that card in the game and Linkage, I just don't know what it's going to take to rival Ishizu Tearlaments or rival some of these stronger A tier decks, and for that reason I'm going to put in the B tier. Blue Underees, let's just get it out of the way. Normal Sun Robina, win the game. Resolve D-Shifter, win the game. Resolve Harpy's Featherstorm, win the game. But I don't think it's an S tier deck. I definitely think it's in the A tier. When a strategy is being countered in the side decks, that's a good indication of whether it's an A tier or S tier deck. And speaking of A tier, I think Sword Soul has took a huge dive, and you're not seeing a lot of cards like the D barrier in side decks. And I think while the deck hasn't really taken any hits, of course Desires is still at 2, I don't think it's got enough firepower to rival Ishizu Tearlaments. So Sword Soul are gonna have a tough time with their 10 years. I think if you can resolve that, you're gonna have a good time. It's quite a strong board. It does lose to Lava Golem, Dark Riddle no more, and things like that, and I'm thinking I'm gonna put it in tier B. Up next is Elemental Heroes. So we got Ian Shuffle, and Ian Shuffle is an incredible card. I think there's a neat combo where you can tag Strauss into Shadow Mist and then get the Mask Change stuff going, maybe get more hero combos going. I think it's great. I don't think it's A tier. I'm gonna put it in B for now. Exorcista is a really annoying archetype. Me personally, I have a lot of trouble against them. They play a lot of anti-meta strategies and they have no worries playing D-Shift in the main deck. I think against Ishizu Tearlaments, Exorcista is amazing, and for that reason they definitely deserve a spot on the tier list. I'm actually going to put them in the B tier. They might struggle with the rogue matchup, definitely against Draco Slayer or definitely against decks that don't care about the graveyard. Labyrinth is a deck that we're seeing a lot of successes in the OCG, and I wonder if anyone is thinking the same in the TCG, because Ishizu Tearlaments is just too strong. It's not as potent, so for that reason I'm going to put it in tier C. C, but I have high hopes for this deck, and I think it's going to jump up to B or even A tier. We can't do a tier list without Spright. Spright is of course one of the more popular decks right now in the game after Ishizu Tearlament, being able to special summon the Mannequin Cat and lock the opponent, or do an OTK with Gigantic Spright and the Gamma Burst. I think the main power spike of this deck is from the Bestials and the Fenrir, so a deck that's able to play these generic cards but still do their own strategy is I think really strong, and why I'm putting this in the A tier. Mathmech seems to have fallen off. I don't think it's as popular. I think it loses quite bad to the Ishizu Tearlament deck, but it also loses really bad to Bestials because some of them are light type. So for that reason, I'm gonna put this deck in the C tier. Sheena having the Earthbox engine, having the Venusaur engine, but unfortunately because Ishizu Tearlament triggers off of card effects and being destroyed by card effects, I think this deck is a really good stun deck. I'm going to put it in the C tier, and while it's good against Bestials, I just don't think the deck has enough to get going and be as unfair as the other best decks in the game. The new Natura cards are amazing. They've been able to completely revive the deck. I'm definitely going to throw in the A tier. I think this deck has a lot of potential, and I've seen it being played, and it's really crazy how you can keep triggering the Naturias on both players' turns. It's already been getting tops at regionals and tournaments. It definitely belongs in the A tier, but I'm thinking it's probably at the bottom. Kashtira pre-Photon Hypernova is not as strong. Defidge is at 3, Macrocosmos is at 3, Dimensional Shifter is at 3. This deck is the hard counter to Ishizu Tearlament. Banish the extra deck monsters face down with Kashtira Unicorn, and I don't think that's something you can ignore. So for that reason, I'm going to throw these guys in the B tier or A tier. I'm thinking A tier. That's my hot take. Feel free to prove me wrong in the comments, but I think this deck is A tier. Moving on to Branded, another strategy that's really strong. Of course, Branded Fusion being a one-card starter. Not many people playing the Ash Blossom and being able to play around Bestials really well. Cards like the Ishizu cards, the Shuffle Back, they're really strong, and they can shut down the Albion and the Alub and the Lubellion. Now that the deck is not on the most wanted list, of course, Ishizu Tearlament has taken that spot. It can now play even more now that people aren't hard countering it. How could I also forget? Branded also plays the Ra Disciple, the End of Anubis, the Scythelock. So if you ever play against Branded and they go first, just expect a loss because they can end on a really unfair board, and it's really hard to play around that. Tearlament going straight in S tier. It's officially a tier 0 deck or tier 0 deck. If you've been living under a rock, what this deck can do, it can play its whole turn on your turn. The ruling strategy is a very interesting one. I think it came out and it was really popular with Spright, so I'm going to put them in B tier for now, but I really think they deserve the A tier spot. Just maybe in a month or two or in a new meta, this deck will shine even more, but for now, I think it's going in B tier. I hate to do it, but I'm going to put Scareclaw in the B tier. Needing your graveyard for the Scareclaw combos is really awkward thanks to cards like the Bestials and the Ishizus, but that said, it can still do a lot of damage. Of course, Triheart can't be affected by cards in defense. If all the strong fusion decks and all the strong synchro decks are in defense, Triheart is not getting destroyed, but we have to think about Perla Rhino, of course, being a popper. Lastly, with the Doodle Beast cards, which is probably some of the best art in the game, is so cool. I think I'm going to put in the B tier. If there's anything I know about dinos, it's the Lithosagim is at 1 for a reason, and the OTK combo that they can present is really strong. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno being one of the scariest boss monsters ever introduced in Yu-Gi-Oh! But while Lithosagim is at 1, while Dragonic Diagram is at 1, I don't think the deck is as scary as it could have been. So for that reason, I'm putting in the B tier for now. And there we go. That's been the tier list for the post-December ban list. Let me know in the comments what you think. And I think it's a good indication of where the Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going right now, because we have the tier 0 Ishizu Tearlament. But if you're able to ignore that and just enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, any deck can win the game thanks to a lot of power spells and traps and reprints. And that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.